Hey guys, today at the gym we are looking at the deck that has been my favorite since the card was released and lost to Origins, and that is Hisuian Zoroark VSTAR. If I had any reservations about this card or this deck, once they released the insane artwork in Crown Zenith, I was hooked on the path to play this deck, no matter how good it is. The build on the screen is how I've been playing it up until now, which I featured in some YouTube shorts, but since rotation is looming, it is time to adapt the deck. The original build was so good because of Melanie and Water Energy, which lets you avoid the penalty of double turbo energies minus 20 damage and hit the full 300 damage with Tickling Curse, his main and only attack, which of course was 330 with the Choice Band, which is amazing against speed maxes. There are a ton of ways to build this deck, but since I'm losing my favorite one, I've been experimenting with some new builds. I've got some footage of some gameplay, but let's look at the list first. I will spare you all of the tries and show you where I am now. As you can see, the main shift is with the energy going with Psychic Energy, which is mainly for Gengar. Gengar can place up to 100 damage on the active for just that one energy, which is perfect for any of the evolution decks out there. He's a great one prizer against anything that plays a full bench, which is almost everything right now. And what is so great about him is that if he gets knocked out, you can put him right back into play on the next turn with Netherworld Door, his ability. So how you start with this build really depends on what you're facing. But either way, speed and pressure are the keys. The balance in Zoroark is how to get out to a fast start without throwing away everything important, which is very easy to do in this deck. I've got a Squawkabilly EX for that first turn dig. You use his ability and it's just like a Professor's Research. Then once you evolve to Hisuian Zoroark VSTAR, you can use his VSTAR power, which is called Phantom Star, which is like another Professor's Research. But you do have to keep in mind that you cannot recover the 4 double turbo energies in this deck. And you also need your bosses to chase targets, which is all part of the speed and pressure of this deck. That's why I've had Super Rod in the build, and recently I've eliminated Research in favor of Youngster, which I don't think anybody plays, and Iono, and also recently added Palpad, whose necessity became painfully obvious in some of the games I've played online. Once you get set up, B-Barrel keeps your hand safe. If you're attacking for 280 damage on turn 2, which is the goal of this build, and your opponent will have to scramble to keep up. And as you'll see, often they cannot. There are a few other ticky elephants in the room, as you can see, like Radiant Alakazam, the De-Evolution TM, and the Justified Gloves, but those are easier to see in gameplay. I believe Zoroark is at worst, even against everything outside of Charizard EX and Gardevoir EX, which both require some damage manipulation and some pretty careful planning as you advance through those games. Anything that cannot one-hit Zoroark is at a pretty big disadvantage. All of the Lost decks, Miraidon, Chenpao, Roaring Moon, Entei, I've played all of these guys with this deck and they all seem to struggle with it. So let's look at some of those examples. Let's first look at a match with Miraidon. You can see how I started. It wasn't great. Really the only thing missing was just the damage across the bench, so that first hit was really not for much. They escape rope, take out a Gengar, which doesn't hurt it anything because you can just get him right back, which I did. Got damage all the way across the bench. And one hit the Raikou. And that's the first two, and this really just kind of goes from there. I body a hit from Raikou. Gonna catch the Miraidon. While I know I can do 280, I'm just gonna retreat this one and at least make them chase the damaged one. Send up a fairly fresh one. Do 280, get that one for 2. Kind of leaves us in a spot where I've got to knock out next turn on just about whatever I want to get. They escape again into a Gengar. Hit it with Zoroark, don't even knock it out, I guess, hoping to maybe trap me. Which, again, really didn't accomplish much. I'm just going to retreat him. Did draw the boss, so I can just catch whatever. I'm going to catch the Raikou again. Manually retreat the Gengar, and that's how quickly it rolls through this Raikou Miraidon deck, and most of these other decks that I've previously mentioned. The key to Giratina is to chase it early and knock it out every time it hits the field before they can Mirage Gate or Star Requiem. I picked Jirachi over Manaphy in this matchup because Sableye is a bigger threat than Greninja. Greninja can't get Gengars once you move at least 10 damage off of them. So I'm going to grab this Giratina right off the bat, then go ahead and Phantom Star, see if we can get a little bit more of a complete bench, which we do. We're going to be able to get damage all the way across, have a full complement of damage, so we'll be able to swing for 280, which is more than we need at this point. And with no other Giratinas in play for them, that's enough of a lead that should carry you through the rest of the game. You're just waiting for another one to hit the bench so you can catch it and knock it out. You can see they're just trying to take a prize, I guess, any way they can, which is with Cramorant knocking out a Gengar, which you'll just get right back again. I'm going to go ahead and boss that Greninja up, because it is the only really threat left on the field. We'll go ahead and take it out, and that leaves us with just a Cramorant to deal with for the next turn anyway. Cramorant hits for 110. You can see we've got Charon's Care in our hands, so we're just going to erase any trace of that ever happening. Put the Zoroark back down, evolve the one that was waiting. Go ahead and reattach your energy. You don't want to get it shuffled away with a Roxanne or anything. Take that out, leaving them with 2 Comfies, and I don't believe that gives them anywhere to go. And there comes a Concede. I'm not going to go all the way through very many other matches, just wanted to show this Arceus one real quick just to illustrate the point that you do want to go first with Zoroark. The Arceus matchup is a great illustration of that, because if you go first and knock out the Arceus V before it becomes a V-Star, you cripple pretty much their whole setup. That was why we showed this one. The last 2 matchups to talk about here are Charizard EX and Gardevoir EX. I know there are a lot of new decks to throw in, but I don't see any that present the same problem as these 2, which is their HP. Having to 2-hit multiple copies of these guys really stretches the resources of Hisuian Zoroark, especially in the Charizard matchup, to where he can start to 1-hit you. It just becomes a difficult matchup when you cannot return the knockout. I've tried everything from Choice Belt to the Glove Tools to Defiance Bad, and they're all about the same. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But Temporal Forces fixes that with the Maximum Belt. Maximum Belt lets you hit EX Pokemon for 50 more damage, which is perfect, because it takes Hisuian Zoroark's 280 that he maxes out at with a double turbo on up to 330. You can even hit 350 if you do get the basic energies on instead, and thankfully that's not necessary very often, but it's there as a possibility. Yes, Maximum Belt is an A-spec, so there's only 1 copy that you can have in your deck, and that's why I've included 1 copy of Silene. Silene gives you the chance to get that belt back if you get knocked out and it goes to the discard pile. Silene can also let you get your double turbos back if you run low or run out of those. So I think it's a good inclusion. I had it in this list at one point early on and cut it for other things, but I think it definitely belongs back in here now. I haven't got any footage with these last changes because the cards just became available, but I think Hisuian Zoroark is stronger than ever. If you see me in an event anytime soon, it is likely that this is the deck I'll be sporting, because if I can justify playing it in any way, I will, because it is my favorite deck at the moment. So give it a try, mess with the list. If you build it from scratch, I don't believe you'll spend much over $30 putting this list together. And that's depending on where Maximum Belt lands once it settles down. It's like 15 bucks right now. I don't think it'll stay there. Just have to wait and see. But anyway, have fun with the list. Be not afraid. Later.